Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha ve'al kol yoshvei tevel tasim le'olam ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו, המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, hear our prayer. We have sinned before you. Have compassion upon us and upon our children. Help us bring an end to sickness, war, and hunger. Cause all hate and oppression to vanish from the earth. Avinu Malkeinu is a supplication to God to treat us with kindness and generosity, even when we haven't always lived up to his ideals for us.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu v'anenu, ki en banu ma'asim. Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed, v'hoshi'enu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu v'anenu, ki en banu ma'asim. Tzedaka v'chesed, Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed, v'hoshi'enu. Avinu Malkeinu,
Avinu Malkeinu,
Avinu Malkeinu,
Avinu Malkeinu,
Avinu Malkeinu.
Chanenu v'anenu, ki en banu Pray for well-being, oh Jerusalem. May all those who love you be at peace. For you are a light that shines
When the first light came in, it was cold up north again, and the frost slowly thawed in the dawn. It takes a faithful breath to put a weary mind at rest and still remember the narrow bridge we're on. Troubled times, you don't ease a worried mind. Troubled times, just stay behind. Troubled times, you don't ease a worried mind. Troubled times, just stay behind. The woods are turned to stones, and the feeling of wonder is nearly gone. But in the cracks of barren land, a beauty grows unplanned. So we just keep to the narrow bridge we're on. Troubled times, you don't ease a worried mind. Troubled times, just stay behind. Troubled times, you don't ease a worried mind. Troubled times, just stay behind. On the narrow bridge, Kol ha'olam kulo, from the lowlands so low to high up on the ridge, Gesher Tzar Me'od. I've walked this world on the again and brings quiet through the glen. In the still we hear the blackbirds call. From o'er these rivers you can see in the moonlight through the trees that the bridge was not so narrow after all. Troubled times, we don't ease a worried mind. Troubled times, just stay behind. Troubled times, we don't ease a worried mind. Troubled times, just stay behind. Oh, just stay behind.
One thing I desire, to be in the house of God.
Beit Adonai, Beit Adonai, Otavake. Eloi neshama shenatatavi deorai. Eloi neshama shenatatavi deorai. Eloi neshama shenatatavi
Take my hand, I'll take yours. Together we can open doors. If you see me and I see you for who we are, then we'll get through. If we sing one song, we stand strong. We stand strong. We stand strong. We stand strong. You feel alone and you're confused. You witness hatred and abuse. You don't know what to do. You see the world is full of strife. So many seek a better life. You ask, what can I do? Take my hand, I'll take yours. Together we can open doors. If you see me and I see you for who we are, then we'll get through. If we sing one song, we stand strong. We stand strong. We stand strong. We stand strong.
No more hatred, no more war. We will rise up one day more. We know what to do. We will love, not fight our way. That's our promise for today. This is what we'll do.
Take Take my hand, I'll take yours. Together we can open doors. If you see me and I see you, for who we are, then we'll get through. If we sing one song, if we sing one song, if we sing one song, we stand strong. We are not alone.
Olam chesed yibane, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. Olam chesed yibane, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. Olam chesed yibane, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai.
Good morning. Welcome back. So happy that you are with us. Gamar Chatima Tova. Hope this is a meaningful morning for you. Wishing you to be sealed in the book of life. We are going to begin on page 138 with Matovu.
So we'll be singing the first and last paragraphs, and I invite you to join us. Matovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani berov chastecha avo veitem
Ishtachaven Hechal Kodshecha Beiratecha Matovu.
Top of the page.
Matovu Ohalecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Yisrael.
Last three lines.
Va'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim berov hasecha Aneni be'emet Ishecha Matovu.
From the top.
Matovu Ohalecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Yisrael Matovu.
We continue with Nishmat Kol Chai Tivarech et Shimcha, the spirit of all living things, praise your name.
Nishmat kol chai, tvarech et shimcha, Adonai Eloheinu. Nishmat kol chai, tvarech et shimcha, Adonai Eloheinu. Yai, 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 Nishmat kol chai, tvarech et shimcha, Adonai Eloheinu. Nishmat kol chai, tvarech et shimcha, Adonai Eloheinu. Ai, ai, ai,
Page 176, Chatzi Kaddish.
It gadol, It kadash, Shemrei Rabbah, Ve'alma, Tivera,
Page 178, we continue with our call to prayer, Baruch Hu. Middle of page 178, we continue with Yotzer, our morning creation prayer, led by Orna Carmeli.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, הפותח לנו שערי רחמים, ומאיר עיני המחכים לסליחתו, יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. אור עולם באוצר חיים, אורות מאופל אמר ויהי. המאיר לארץ ולדרים עליה ברחמים, ובטובו מחדש בכל יום תמיד מעשה בראשית. מה רבו מעשיך אדוני, כולם בחוכמה עשית. מלאה הארץ קנייניך. תתברך אדוני אלוהינו על שבח מעשי ידיך, ועל מאורי אור שעשית יפארוך סלע.
אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכחו לנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני, יוצר המאורות.
Middle of page 184.
והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו. כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת, להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל, באהבה.
Page 186 and 187 will continue with Shema Yisrael. In many congregations, the second line, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed, is only whispered during the rest of the year, but is said out loud on Yom Kippur. So as we sing Shema in our homes, we sing both lines with full voice. We continue on page 188 with Ve'ahavta.
And you will love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all of your might. And all these words which I command you on this day will be in your heart, will be in your heart, and you will teach them diligently unto your children, and you will speak of them when you're sitting in your house, when you're walking by the way, and when you're lying down, and when you're rising up, and when you're rising up, and you will bind them for a sign upon your hands, and they will be as circlets before your eyes, and you will write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
Page 195. Deborah Kummerman will lead us.
And they shall know that I, Adonai, am their God, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, that I might abide among them, I, Adonai, their God.
You took us out of the darkness so that your light might dwell among us.
You showed us your power to bring down the powerful, uplift the enslaved, transform the social order.
You showed us your strength so that we might remember our own.
We carry the Exodus vision wherever we go, lest we forget our sense of liberation, lest we lose the joy of breathing free, lest we grow indifferent and blind to others' pain.
So long as we work to make you present, we walk the path of freedom. But if we forget to bring you into this world, then we return to darkness.
We continue with Micha Mocha, page 196.
שמחו גאולים את שמך על שפת הים יחד כולם הודו המליכו ואמרו
We continue with the last Hebrew paragraph on 196, Sur Yisrael. Depending on your situation in your home, if you'd like to rise for our Amidah, which follows, you can do so during Sur Yisrael.
Israel, Kuma Be'ezrat Yisrael. Ufedei Chinu Mecha Yehuda Be'Yisrael. Goleinu Adonai Tzibaot. Shemo Kedosh Yisrael. Baruch Ata Adonai. Kol Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon. Humel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher. Hasre avot ve'imahot u'mevii gilon ibnei v'neihem leman shemo ve'ahava Sofreinu l'chaim ve'lechafetz b'chaim v'chotreinu b'sefer ha'im v'baraka Elohim Melech Hozer u'Moshiach u'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai Mechayei hakol Atah Rav lehoshia Mechalkel chaim b'chesed Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim Samech Rofeh cholim u'matir asurim u'mekayem emunato l'shenei afar michamocha bal gvurot u'mido melach Melech v'min u'mchayei u'matzmiach Yeshua Mi chamocha el harachamim Zocher yitzurav l'chaim v'rachamim
We continue in the middle of page 208. Laura Zuckerman will lead us.
Let us proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love. Your reign is a reign of truth. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal, you record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves a mark, an imprint like no other.
We continue on the top of page 210 with Uva Shofar Gadol.
Uva Shofar Gadol Itaka Bekol Demamadaka Ishama Umalakim Yakafezun Vechil Rada Yochezun Veyomeru Hine Yom Hadin Livkor Al Tzvamarom Badin Kilo Hizku Benecha Badin. V'chol v'hei olam yavrun lefanecha ki v'nei maron kevatarat roeh et roh ma'avir tzodo tachat shivto ken davor v'tis por v'timne v'tiv kol nefesh kol chai v'tachto kitzba lechol b'riyah v'tikto v'tkezar
We continue on page 212. Jill Housen will lead us.
On Rosh Hashanah this is written, on the fast of Yom Kippur this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who will be tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted?
Kama yavrun v'kama yivareyun mi'yiche u'mi'amut mi'vekitzo u'mi'lo v'kitzo Berosh Hashanah ikatevu u'b'yom tzom kippur kitso umilo vekitso Rosh Hashanah ikateru u'yom kippur yechatenu Rosh Hashanah ikateru u'yom kippur yechatenu Mi ba'esh u'mi b'mayim Mi b'cherem u'mi b'chaya Mi vara umi v'tzama Mi varosh umi v'magefa Mi v'chanika umi Rosh Hashanah ikateru u'yom kippur yechatenu Rosh Hashanah ikateru u'yom kippur yechatenu V'yanuach u'miyanuach v'yashchit u'mitorah v'yishalem u'miyityaser v'yani u'miyashir miushpol u'miyarum.
But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree.
U'teshuva, u'tfilah, u'tzedakah. Ma'averim et roah ha'gezerah. U'teshuva, u'tfilah, u'tzedakah.
We are in the middle of page 215. Laura Katofsky will lead us.
When we walk through a valley of darkness, but find courage to live in the shadow of pain, we transcend the harshness of the decree. When we speak about fear with honesty and share what is hardest to say, we transcend the harshness of the decree. When day becomes night, but we let ourselves hope, we transcend the harshness of the decree. When we feel far from caring and friendship, but let go of pride to ask for help, we transcend the harshness of the decree. When in grief we are crushed by the absence of love, but open ourselves to your presence, we transcend the harshness of the decree.
We continue on the top of page 216 with Adam, Adam.
Adam, 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 Yisoro ve'afar, origin is dust, and so is our end. We wear out our lives to get our bread, like broken vessels, like withered glass, like withered grass, like a flower that must fade, a shadow moving on, a cloud passing by, mere dust on the wind, a dream that flies away. Adam, 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 Yesodo me'afar, Vesofo le'afar, Adam, 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 Yesodo me'afar, Vesofo le'afar, Ve'atahu melech el chai v'kayam.
Page 218, we continue with Kedusha.
Ekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, Kishem shemachtichi oto bishmei marom, hakatuv al yad nevi'echa, v'karan zel zeh ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzebaot, Elok haaretz, Gedolah. Adir Adirenu, Adonai Adonenu, Ba'adir Shimcha b'chol haaretz. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, Malkeinu, Moshienu, Vehu Yashmienu, Rachamav le'enei kol chai, Ani Adonai, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Elohai Xion Dor Vador. Dor Vador, Nagib God Lecha. Dor Vador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation. Dor Vador, these lips will praise your name. We are gifts and we are blessings. We are His story in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. Dor Vador, Nagib God Lecha. Dor Vador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation. Dor Vador, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our hearts, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way. And the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. Let Dor Vador, Nagib God Lecha. Let Dor Vador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation. Let Dor Vador, these lips will praise your name. Dor Vador, Nagib God Lecha. Let Dor Vador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation. Let Dor Vador, these lips will praise your name. Praise your
Middle of page 228, Kadosh Atah.
Kadosh Atah v'norah shemecha v'neloah mibaladecha kakatuv vayikbar Adonai tzvaot b'mishpat ve'ael hakadosh nikdash b'tzedakah. Ayin, 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 ayin,
We continue in the middle of page 232.
Lisa Block will lead us.
Our God and God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness, together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel. May we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this Day of Atonement.
Top of page 233.
Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo letova.
Amen.
Ufokteinu vo livracha.
Amen.
Ve'oshienu lechai.
Amen.
Top of page 245.
Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdikev taught, the hands of the Kohanim were a language in themselves. Hands held out, with the palms facing up, indicated the desire to receive. Hands held up, with the palms facing down, indicated the desire to give. So, when the Kohanim lifted up their hands to bless, they did not wish to pray for themselves, but only to bestow God's bounty on the people. Holy One, we strive to be a nation of priests, our lives consecrated to the holy work. Help us to use our hands as instruments of divine service, conduits of your goodness. May blessings flow through us to our children, our friends, and all those whose lives we touch.
One of the highlights of our Rosh Hashanah Day and Yom Kippur Day services here at TBI is the priestly blessing, when we turn to each other and offer God's blessing on one another. It's one of those things that we may feel particularly a loss of today, as we're not able to physically be together. But I hope that each of us still feels that we can be a conduit of blessing and bring God's blessing into the world, and that we all feel each other's presence at this time.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, baruchenu b'bracha hamshuleshet haktuva b'Torah ha'amura mipi kohanim am kedoshcha ka'amur. Your turn. Adonai, Ve'ishmerecha, Ya'er, Adonai, Hanav, אין לך ויחונך Adonai, Anav, Ein Lecha, V'yasem, Lecha, Shalom. Ein yehi ratzon.
We continue with Sim Shalom, our prayer for peace, top of page 246.
Sim Shalom, Tov Vracha Ba'olam, Chain v'chesed, V'rachamim aleinu, Ve'al kol Yisrael Amecha. Baruch atah Adonai Oseh Shalom.
Please take a moment for silent reflection. Then there will be a musical offering by Doctors Randy Polovoy and Rachel Huang, Avodah by Ernest Bloch. page 250.
Imre fi region libi lefanecha Adonai suri vegoli.
Gamar Hatima Tova. The year was 1975. Michael and I had two very young kids. Our third was born later, and we had just moved to Upland. We both felt a great need for Jewish connections. Michael's parents had grown to adulthood and were actually married in Europe. They escaped in the nick of time and settled in Boston. Michael's home was quite observant. He attended Hebrew school 4 days a week until he moved to California at age 11, and his new community didn't offer this. For Michael, being Jewish had to include belonging to a synagogue and observing Jewish practices. My own Jewish upbringing was very different. My mother's parents also came from Europe, but she was born here and was raised with only a thin Jewish identity. My father immigrated from Poland just after World War I, when he was already 15. He was the youngest of 10 children, and although most of his large family remained extremely observant, he took a different path and became a thoroughly committed secular Jew. He wasn't at all religious, but he was devoted heart and soul to the Jewish people, to Yiddishkeit, and to the Yiddish language itself. He had an immense Jewish library, which included many hundreds of books as well as sound recordings in Yiddish. He tried valiantly to teach the language to my siblings and me. But our mother didn't speak it, and as I see it now, we were snotty kids, and this effort of Dad's was largely in vain. Still, his love of being Jewish did take hold, and we all married Jewish spouses and raised our own children as members of Jewish communities. Back to 1975. Michael and I paid a visit to TBI. We liked it well enough, and we became members. We had absolutely no idea how our commitment would grow over the decades and how active we would become. When I suffered a serious illness in 1989, the TBI community, our community, was immensely supportive, and largely in gratitude, I agreed to join the Board of Trustees. I served in various capacities, including 2 years as president, and later I served on 2 rabbinic search committees. Since 1994, I've had the good fortune to build and run the Lewis Family Library, which is one of the loves of my life. Here are some other things I love about belonging to TBI. I love the fellowship with other Jews and the sharing of Jewish values and not needing to explain the Jewish mindset. I love being a part of the Jewish presence in the larger community. I love the enduring friendships we've made and the support we've received at difficult times. Of course, I also love sharing our joy at happy times. I love the wisdom, dedication, warmth, compassion, and easy accessibility of our rabbi and cantor. I love the opportunities to increase my own Jewish knowledge, formal classes, special arrangements with friends, and independent use of the library. I love how TBI has changed with the times and the balance we maintain between current relevance and meaningful tradition. I love that the TBI community unconditionally and non-judgmentally welcomes Jews in all their diversity. I love the beauty of our sanctuary and the poetry of the language in the Siddur and the richness of the music at our services. I love hearing the list of yahrzeit names and remembering the many dear individuals we've known here. And I love the idea that we will be remembered in the same way. During this year's high holidays, I've been quite startled at times to see the empty seats on the bima behind the rabbi and the cantor. These are indeed strange and difficult times, and more than ever, I feel blessed to have made TBI my second home. Gemar Tov.
Thank you, Deborah.
Knowing that staying focused on Zoom or Facebook is difficult over long periods of time, we're going to take a short break and we will be back at 11:45.
Gonna make good trouble, talking about good trouble. Gonna be good trouble coming your way. We don't agree with your choices, so we'll keep raising our voices, bringing some good trouble to you today. You know we're watching, you know we're listening, you know exactly what we mean. We've had enough of this nightmare. We're standing up for our American dream. Gonna make good trouble, talking about good trouble. Gonna be good trouble coming your way. We don't agree with your choices, so we'll keep raising our voices, bringing some good trouble to you today. You know we're watching, you know we're listening, and when that vote comes around again, you know there won't be any question. What you do now will keep you out or keep you in. Gonna make good trouble, talking about good trouble. Gonna be good trouble coming your way. We don't agree with your choices, so we'll keep raising our voices, bringing some good trouble to you today. You know we're watching, you know we're listening, as money and power speak to you. Turn away and walk in our direction, 'cause there's more glory in the truth. Gonna make good trouble, talking about good trouble. Gonna be good trouble coming your way. We don't agree with the choices, so we'll keep raising our voices, bringing some good trouble to you today. Gonna make good trouble, talking about good trouble. Gonna be good trouble coming your way. We don't agree with your choices, so we'll keep raising our voices, bringing some good trouble to you today. Bringing some good trouble to you today. May God bless you with all good. May God keep all evil from you. May God bless you with all good. May God keep all evil from you. And may God fill your heart with wisdom and grace you with all truth. May God lift up God's merciful face and shine on you for all time. And may God grant you eternal peace. May God bless you with all good. May God keep all evil from you. And may God fill your heart with wisdom and grace you with all truth. May God lift up God's merciful face and shine on you for all time. And may God grant you eternal peace. Eternal peace. Like an empty vessel, I have forgotten my own name. Don't know where I'm going, just that I will never be the same in this time of darkness. I feel stranded and alone. If I listen closely, will your voice guide me home? I am returning to who I am. May this process make me a better man. I got off track and lost my way. My true essence was betrayed. There's so much that I'm learning, returning to who I am. I long for your forgiveness, but it takes time, I know. Can I ease the pain I've caused you? Restore the trust from long ago? Can I overcome my weakness and find favor in your eyes? Will I find that you were closer than I realized? I am returning to who I am. May this process make me a better man. I got off track and lost my way. My true essence was betrayed. There's so much that I'm learning, returning to who I am. Somewhere deep inside of me, I know my soul is pure. It's the grace that you provide me, even when I feel unsure. This path that I have chosen has ripped my world apart. Let the words that I have spoken penetrate your heart. I am returning to who I am. May this process make me a better man. I got off track and lost my way. My true essence was betrayed. There's so much that I'm learning, returning and turning. So much that I'm learning, returning to who I am. Who I
אבינו, צור ישראל בשמיים, צור ישראל, או אבינו.
Na 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 אבינו שבשמיים אבינו שבשמיים צור ישראל צור ישראל וגואלו. Wherever I go, wherever I roam, I always know I have a home in Israel. In Israel. And if I'm lost, I hope and pray. I know my heart will show the way to Israel, to Israel. Avinu Shebashamayim, Avinu Shebashamayim, Tzur Israel, Tzur Israel, Vego'alo. I pray for peace, I pray for love, I pray that light will shine above on Israel, yeah, on Israel. Oh, I ask you, my Redeemer, I ask you, when you see her, protect her, love her, as I do, I really do, yeah. Avinu Shebashamayim, Avinu Shebashamayim, Tzur Israel, Tzur Israel, Vego'alo. Avinu Shebashamayim, Avinu Shebashamayim, Tzur Israel, Tzur Israel, Vego'alo. Na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na, na na.
Yehu Ratzon Irefi May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Yehu ratzon irefi ve'hegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri ve'goali. Adonai tzuri ve'goali.
Create up your heart in me, Great Spirit. Create up your heart in me. Create up your heart in me, Great Spirit. Create up your heart in me, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within. Create up your heart in me, Great Spirit. Create up your
We continue on page 252 with Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu Chalmol Aleinu Ve'al Olalenu V'Tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families.
Avinu Malkeinu Kale Dever Ve'cherev Ve'ra'av Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu Kale Kol Tsar Umasid Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu Kotvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu Malei Yadenu Mivirchotecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings.
Avinu Malkeinu Harem Keren Mishichecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption.
Avinu Malkeinu Na'al Tishivenu Rekam Milfanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we pray, do not turn us away from you with nothing.
Avinu Malkeinu Kabel Berachamim Uvaratzon Et Tefilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it.
Avinu Malkeinu Aseh Imanu Lema'an Shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu Aseh Lema'ancha Imlo Lema'anenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours.
Avinu Malkeinu Ein Lanu Melech Ela Ata.
Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu Petach Sha'arei Shamayim Litfilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be opened to our prayer.
Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu Chus V'Rachem Aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice. Treat us with tender compassion.
Avinu Malkeinu, Konenu Valeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Konenu Valeinu, Yemanu Masi, Aseh Imanu, Aseh Imanu, Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed ve'oshienu. Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed ve'oshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Konenu Valeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Konenu Valeinu, Yemanu Masim.
Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Page 255.
Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha bechol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai Adonai Malach, Adonai Yimloch, Leolam Vaed, Adonai Oz, Leamo Yitain, Adonai Yevarech, Et Amo Vashalom. Tivnei Chomod Yerushalayim, Tivnei Chomod Yerushalayim, Ki Vecha Levan Batachnu, Melech El Ram V'Nisa, Adon Olamim.
Page 256, top of the page, Adonai, Adonai. Page 256, Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh v'Norah. Shemo Yachdav. Lekach Adonai Akedorah, Yakedorah, Yatiteret, Yanetzach, V'chafon. Kol Hashamayim Ba'aretz, Kol Hashamayim Ba'aretz, Baruch Adonai Ambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai
Baruch Hu Shemo.
Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem. Rashechem shivtechem, ziknechem v'shorechem, kol ish Yisrael.
Tapechem Ishechem V'gerecha Asher V'kiriv Machanecha Mechotei Vitzecha An Shoav Meimecha
Le'ovrecha Bivri Adonai Elohecha Uv alato Asher Adonai Elohecha Koreit imeha hayom
Lema'an hakim otecha hayom lo le'am vehu yelecha lelohim Asher diber lach Asher nishba la'avotecha le'avraham Yitzchak u'Yaakov
V'lo itechem levadechem Anochi koreit et haberit hazot ve'et hala hazot ki et asher yishno po imanu omed hayom lifnei Adonai Eloheinu ve'et asher einenu po imanu hayom ki hamitzvah hazot asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom lo nifleiti mimecha v'lo rechoka hi
lo vashamayim hi lemor mi ya'alelanu hashamayma vayikachecha lanu ve'ashmienu ota ve'na'asena
V'lo me'ever layam hi lemor mi ya'avor lanu el ever hayam ve'yikachecha lanu ve'yashmi'enu ota ve'na'asena ki karov elecha hadavar me'od beficha uvilvavecha la'asoto
Re'eh natati lefanecha hayom et ha'haim ve'et ha'tov ve'et ha'mavet ve'et ha'ra asher anochi metzavecha hayom ve'ahava et Adonai Elohecha ללכת בדרכיו.
ולשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו ומשפטיו, וחיית ורבית וברכך אדוני אלוהיך בארץ אשר אתה ושמה
לרשתה.
ואם יפנה לבבך ולא תשמע וננעתה והשתהבית באלוהים האחרים ועבדתם, הגדתי להם היום כי אבות תאבדון, לא תאריכון ימים על האדמה אשר אתה עובר את הירדן לבוא שמה לרשתה.
העידותי בכם היום את השמיים ואת הארץ, החיים והמוות נתתי לפניך, הברכה והקללה, ובחרת בחיים למען תחיה אתה בזרעך.
לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך, לשמור בקולו ודבקו, כי הוא חייך ואורך ימיך, ישבת על האדמה אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיך, לאברהם, ליצחק וליעקב, לתת להם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch hu Baruch Shemo
Noten haTorah.
Amen.
We turn to page 271 for Mishaberach, our prayer for healing, and we hold in our hearts and our minds all of those in need of healing of body and mind and spirit, all of those in our lives and in our wider community and world. And while we're singing these words of Mishaberach, if you'd like to share people you're thinking about in the Zoom chat or in the Facebook chat, feel free to do so.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. This is still for you. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit,
משברח אבותינו. מקור הברכה, לאמותינו, may the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. And let us say, Amen. משברך אמותינו, משברך אמותינו, מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. ישראל, ישראל, ואורייתא עברו, ישראל, ישראל, ואורייתא עברו. Hallelujah.
56 years ago, as the rabbis of the Reform movement were gathering for their annual convention, they received an urgent telegram. Hastily written from inside a jail cell, it contained a message from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was leading a protest in St. Augustine, Florida, and was in need of support. So he turned to his friends in the Reform movement and called upon our rabbis to come to Florida and join the protest, to bear prophetic witness against the social evils of our time. A group of rabbis answered that call and made their way to St. Augustine. They included some of the most prominent leaders and thinkers of our movement. Not surprisingly, they were arrested for their acts of civil disobedience and crammed into a jail cell. While there, they wrote a manifesto, Why We Went. They proclaimed, "We came because we know that second only to silence, the greatest danger to humanity is loss of faith in our capacity to act. We came because we could not stand quietly by the blood of our brother. We have done that too many times before. We have been vocal in our exhortation of others by the idleness of our hands too often revealed an inner silence. Silence at a time when silence has become the unpardonable sin of our time. We came in the hope that the God of us all would accept our small involvement as partial atonement for the many things we wish we had done before and often. Why did Dr. King call on the rabbis? Because by the middle of the 1960s, the Jewish community had the power to effect change, and our reform movement had gotten deeply involved with civil rights. The Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism is located in Washington, D.C., on Kivi Kaplan Way. Kivi Kaplan, the son of Lithuanian Jewish immigrants, was the one who purchased the building for the Religious Action Center. He was the president of the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, for 9 years in the 1960s and 70s. So how does a rich Jewish white man become the president of the NAACP? When he was on his honeymoon in Florida, he tried to enter a country club, but was met with a sign outside that read, "No Jews, no dogs." So he returned to his car, startled and pained. His black driver said, "I know how you feel. I'm not even permitted outside the club unless I have an escort. No Jews, no dogs, no blacks." So Kaplan joined the NAACP at the age of 28, climbing its ranks until he became its president at the age of 62. And along the way, he became the human intersection between the civil rights movement and America's Reformed Jews. That's why the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1965 Voting Rights Act were drafted in the conference room of our Religious Action Center. We Jews remember the restricted neighborhoods and country clubs, universities and hospitals, the embarrassment and shame of signs that said, "No Jews allowed," often alongside, "No blacks, no dogs." But the Jewish experience began to change in the years after World War II. While serving in our armed forces, white Christian Americans met their first Jew, and they put their lives on the line for each other. When GIs came back home, many left the anti-Semitism of their youth behind. From there, the GI Bill sent us to college and up the ladder of economic prosperity. It was then that we finally found our acceptance, and restrictions of so many communities, universities, hospitals, and other institutions began to recede. As we made our way out to the suburbs, into the country clubs and medical schools, boards of nonprofits and museums, we became seen as essentially white. Unfortunately, the black soldiers did not have that same experience. Many fought in segregated units. In the South, they couldn't vote. They were often denied admission to universities, blocked from one of the core benefits of the GI Bill. The low-interest mortgages the GI Bill provided were blocked as well. The practice of redlining, of denying loans and insurance, prevented black families from amassing wealth through real estate in the ways that white middle-class families have historically been able to do. It prevented black citizens from being able to buy homes in the suburbs. While white suburban homes appreciated in value, homes in black neighborhoods had their values depressed. While the post-war era meant endless opportunities for Jews, for the black community, it became just another iteration of discrimination that had been going on for centuries. The generational effects of these policies remain to this day. The median wealth of a black family is just 1/10 that of a white family. The connection between race and economics, between whiteness and economic privilege, while not absolute, could not be more real. It's no surprise then that Dr. King saw poverty as the starkest symptom of racial inequality. What is difficult to tolerate is that 50 years later, his observations remain true. And it goes beyond just economics. It's also in the day-to-day experiences that each of us have and the differences of those experiences depending on the color of our skin. Race is a leading indicator of adverse outcomes in almost every arena of our society. Lack of access to quality schools, chronic health conditions, job safety, maternal death, incarceration, life expectancy. And the current pandemic has laid bare the huge gaps as Blacks and other people of color have been infected, hospitalized, and died at rates more than double that of white Americans. And here are some additional truths which defy simple answers. That a white teenager and a Black teenager see a police cruiser through radically different lenses, related to dramatically different experiences. And if you dress those same two kids in the same hooded sweatshirt, they will often receive radically different reactions. Most Black parents have had the talk with their kids about how to behave if they're approached by the police. One mother noted, "He's going to be seen as a large, scary Black man. That's not who he is, but that's how he'll be perceived." A father told his son, "In America, because of your skin color, you're going to be dealing with a lot of danger." These are conversations that those of us who are white do not have to have with our children. An important example is the disparity in policing. First, I want to be clear about something. Being a police officer is a noble profession. The police live with a persistent level of danger that most of us would never choose. And it's only because they do so that we can live safely. Racial problems in America cannot be pinned on our nation's police departments, but policing is a problem. Police reform and accountability are necessary. What would you have thought if all the Black Americans killed this year by police, one by one by one, were Jews and not Blacks? But if we're being honest, and that is the demand of Yom Kippur, we know that these shootings are a symptom of an American illness that affects every part of society. Except for a few among us, we cannot know what it's like to walk out into America every day with brown skin. We cannot know the way others would look at us. We cannot know the fears we would inspire and the fears we would feel. We know that there is racism around us, and we try to be a part of eradicating it. What is harder for us to accept is that we are often also a part of perpetuating it in ways that we hardly even notice. Despite legal equality today, segregation, discrimination, and voter suppression continue to persist in new forms. It's not our fault that we were born into a system that advantaged us, but it will surely be our fault if we neglect to use our advantage to make things more fair. We all have challenges in this world, but they should not be because of the color of our skin. Jewish tradition teaches that humanity began with a single human being, so that no one could say, my ancestor is greater than yours. It teaches that when God gathered up earth to make that first human being, that God gathered soil from the four corners of the earth, yellow clay and white sand, black loam and red soil, to teach us that we are created as equals, equal in our humanity, in our dignity, in our divinity. With anti-Semitism on the rise, we are concerned and dismayed about anti-Semitic rhetoric coming from some leaders in the Black community. When it occurs, it should be addressed and condemned. Unfortunately, every community has its share of those who are bigoted, including our own. But we should not allow it to divert us from working for a more just and equal society. I have been challenging myself to get out of my comfort zone, to allow my assumptions to be challenged, to address my own implicit bias. I've been reading books and watching movies, listening to stories from people of color who honestly and openly share their experience. But my own education only gets me part of the way there. There is a phrase common in justice efforts: nothing about us without us. Those of us who are white cannot lead the fight for racial justice. We must enter it in relationship with those who have been the victims of injustice and work together to make a world that is more fair and just. In a time when hatred and divisiveness is rising, we need to lean on each other, support each other, now more than ever. An ancient midrash tells us that the shofar's cry, which we will hear again at the end of Yom Kippur, is supposed to remind us of the crying of Sarah, the first Jewish mother, when she heard about Abraham binding their son Isaac for sacrifice. She wept because she feared her son would die. The loved ones of Michael Brown and Eric Garner, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and so many more weep over the deaths of their children. Every mother of every Black child is Sarah, crying the shofar's cry, fearful that her child will die. So often in the past, when a Black person was killed by police, it was mostly Black Americans who protested and marched to demand recognition of their humanity and citizenship. But after the death of George Floyd, thousands of Americans of every race, gender, and age have taken to the streets to join in protest for racial justice, and thousands more have become involved in other ways. Why is this time different? Perhaps partly because the horrifying image of George Floyd's murder was captured on a smartphone for all to see. George Floyd face down in the street while a police officer had his knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Watching him die in such a cruel way makes many of us feel a new urgency to address the injustices that impact our nation. George Floyd's young daughter said, "My daddy has changed the world." I pray she is right, that this time will be different, that we will not return to silence and indifference, that this will be an inflection point, a transformative moment when a just and equitable democracy is our priority. Here at TBI, a group has been engaging in learning about implicit bias and confronting racial injustice in our community and our country. We are currently in the process of forming a diversity, equity, and inclusion team that will look at our congregation and help us to be truly a place of belonging for all who seek to join us, regardless of disability, gender identity or sexual orientation, family status, or race. We have made much progress over the years, but there is still so much work yet to do. Al chet shechatanu lifanecha bishgaga. For the sin we have committed without even noticing. We often convince ourselves that the task of these holy days is to confront those nagging sins we know we commit. But I would argue that the much harder task of these days is to unearth the sins we are not conscious of, the ones we commit without even noticing. Our tradition calls this cheshbon hanefesh, the reckoning of our souls. And when it comes to issues of race, the time for our soul's reckoning has come. I want to conclude with the words from John Lewis, civil rights activist, congressman, American patriot, and hero. In his final letter to America, he writes about being inspired as a 15-year-old by the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Lewis writes about King. He He said we are all complicit when we tolerate injustice. He said each of us has a moral obligation to stand up, speak out, speak up. When you see something that is not right, you must say something. You must do something. Lewis continues, ordinary people with extraordinary vision can redeem the soul of America by getting in what I call good trouble, necessary trouble. Though I may not be here with you, I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and to stand up for what you truly believe. In my life, I have done all I can to demonstrate that the way of peace, the way of love and nonviolence is the more excellent way. Now it is your turn to let freedom ring. When historians pick up their pens to write the story of the 21st century, let them say that it was your generation who laid down the heavy burdens of hate at last, and that peace finally triumphed over violence, aggression, and war. So I say to you, walk with the wind, brothers and sisters, and let the spirit of peace and the power of everlasting love be your guide. On this Yom Kippur, may we let the spirit of peace and the power of everlasting love be our guide. Gamar Chatima Tova, may we be sealed for a good year in the book of life.
We rise, humbly hearted, rise, won't be divided, rise, with spirit to guide us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in a hope, in prayer, we're right here, in a hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise, all of the children rise, elders with wisdom rise, ancestors surround us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise, up from the wreckage, rise, with tears and with courage, rise, fighting for life, we rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise, humbly hearted, rise, won't be divided, rise, with spirit to guide us, rise.
Page 284, the prayer for our congregation.
Dan and Lauren Stobel will lead us.
A prayer for our congregation.
Eternal Presence, who blessed our mothers and fathers, bless this holy congregation, a house of study, prayer, and righteous deeds. Together we give thanks.
For our leaders, to those who learn, teach, and uphold the Torah, inspiring others to learn, teach, and uphold the Torah. Those who do the sacred work of building our community, may their service bring them joy, fulfillment, and purpose, and may they go from strength to strength.
For our members, diverse in age, interest, and background, Jews by birth, Jews by choice, and those of other faiths who join with us, all who offer their time and talent, their love and commitment.
For all who come here on this holy day of Yom Kippur, to share the search for meaning and renewal, your presence is a blessing, your friendship a gift.
May the spirit of peace, dignity, and respect live within these walls, inspiring us to care for one another with compassion, and may we be a source of goodness, light, and healing for the world.
May the one who blessed the generations before us bless us as we stand together this day, the congregation joined with all Jewish communities of the world through our prayers on this Day of Atonement.
Let us renew ourselves for the year ahead. Let us honor the precious legacy that is ours.
Page 286, the prayer for our country.
Michelle Eisenberg will lead us.
God of holiness, we hear your message. Justice, justice you shall pursue. God of freedom, we hear your charge. Proclaim liberty throughout the land. Inspire us through your teachings and commandments to love and uphold our precious democracy. Let every citizen take responsibility for the rights and freedoms we cherish. Let each of us be an advocate for justice, an activist for liberty, a defender of dignity. And let us champion the values that make our nation a haven for the persecuted, a beacon of hope among the nations. May our actions reflect compassion for all people, within our borders and abroad. May our leaders and officials embody the vision of our founders to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. We pray for courage and conscience as we aim to support our country's highest values and aspirations, the hard-won rights that define us as a people, the responsibilities that they entail. We pray for all who serve our country with selfless devotion, in peace and in war, from fields of battle to clinics and classrooms, from governments to the grassroots, all those whose noble deeds and sacrifice benefit our nation and our world. We are grateful for the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that our founders ascribed to you, our Creator. We pray for their wisdom and moral strength, that they may be guardians of these rights for ourselves and for the sake of all people, now and forever.
Page 288, prayer for the state of Israel.
Avinu Shebashamayim, Zor Yisrael Ro'aro, Arechem Midat Yisrael, Reshis Nimcha, Ve'ulatem, Avinu Shebashamayim, Zor Yisrael Ro'aro,
Avinu Shebashamayim, you who are high above all nation states and peoples, Rock of Israel, the one who has saved us and preserved us in life, bless the state of Israel, first flowering of our redemption. Be her loving shield, a shelter of lasting peace. Guide her leaders and advisors by your light of truth. Instruct them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who build and protect our holy land. Deliver them from danger. Crown their efforts with success. Grant peace to the land, lasting joy to all her people. And together we say, Amen.
Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzor Yisrael Go'alo. Amen. Selah. Amen. Hallelu et Shem Adonai, ki nizkar shemo levado. Hodo anegetz v'shamayim, vayarem kerem le'amo, ve'ilad lechol asidan, livnei Yisrael ankero. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Page 291. A precious teaching I have given you. My Torah, do not forsake it. A tree of life to those who hold fast to it. All who embrace it know happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Take us back, Adonai. Let us come back to you. Renew in our time the days of old.
We continue on page 294 with Shema Kolenu. This is a congregational melody that we're used to singing together here, so we hope you raise your voices at home.
Shema, Shema, Shema Kolenu, Shema Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Shema Kolenu, Shema Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Shema Kolenu, Shema Kolenu. Shema, Shema Kolenu, Shema Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Chuz v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel v'rachamim uvratzon, et tfilateinu. Shema, Shema, Shema Kolenu, Shema Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Shema Kolenu, Shema Kolenu. Hashivenu Adonai elecha, Hashivenu elecha v'nashuva, Kadesh Yameinu, Yameinu. Kekadem. Shema, Shema, Shema Kolenu, Shema Kolenu. Shema, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu. Shema, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu.
Middle of page 296. Please read along with me at home. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence, and when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. We continue with the Shamnu, bottom of page 296.
Ay, 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 Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, Ay, 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 He'evinu, Behir Shanu, Zadnu, Chamasnu, Afalnu Shaker, Ay, 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 Yahatnu Ra, Kizavnu, Latznu, Maradnu, Niatznu, Saranu, Avinu, Hashanu, Sararnu, Kishinu Oref, Ay, 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 Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Ta'inu, Tihitanu, Ay, 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 ay,
Page 300, Vidui Rabbah, the long confession, Al Chet. Al Chet shechatanu lefanecha, be'ones uveratzon, ve'al Chet shechatanu lefanecha, be'yodim, be'lo yodim.
The ways we have wronged you under duress and by choice, and harm we have caused in your world, consciously and unconsciously.
Al Chet shechatanu lefanecha, bivli da'at, ve'al Chet shechatanu lefanecha, beritzat riglaim lehara.
The ways we have wronged you through our thoughtlessness, and harm we have caused in your world through impulsive acts of malice.
Al Chet shechatanu lefanecha, bechozek yad, ve'al Chet shechatanu lefanecha, bevzilzul horim umorim.
The ways we have wronged you by abusing our power, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers.
Al Chet shechatanu lefanecha, beyetzer hara, ve'al Chet shechatanu lefanecha, bekashut oref.
the ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through inflexibility and stubbornness.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בכחש ובכזב, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בקלות ראש.
The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world by making light of serious matters.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בשיח שפתנו, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בצרות עין.
The ways we have wronged you in our routine conversations, and harm we have caused in your world through envy.
ועל כולם אלוהה סליחות, סלח לנו מחל לנו, כפר לנו.
For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי ובסתר, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בשנאת חינם.
The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by hating without cause.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בפריקת עול, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך במאכל ובמשתה.
The ways we have wronged you by losing self-control, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגילוי עריות, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב.
The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world by hardening our hearts.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בנשך ובמרבית, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך במעשה ובמתן.
The ways we have wronged you through greed and exploitation, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בהיהור הלב, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך ברכילות.
The ways we have wronged you through our innermost thoughts, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחפת שוחד, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחילול השם.
The ways we have wronged you by offering or accepting bribes, and harm we have caused in your world by profaning your name in public.
ועל כולם אלוהה סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו.
For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. 6.
We now take a few moments for silent confession. You may use pages 308 and 309 as a guide. We continue with Ki Anu Amecha, page 310.
Ki anu amecha ve'ata Eloheinu, anu vanecha ve'ata Avinu, anu vadecha ve'ata Adonenu, anu kalecha ve'ata Chelkeinu, anu nachalatecha ve'ata Goraleinu, anu tzonecha ve'ata ro'einu. Anu karmecha ve'ata notreinu, anu fulatecha ve'ata yotzreinu, anu rayatecha ve'ata dodeinu, anu skulatecha ve'ata kroveinu, anu amecha ve'ata malkeinu, anu ma'amirecha ve'ata ma'amireinu.
I invite our president, Dina Benjamin, to share some words and announcements with you.
Shana Tova. Thank you to Rabbi Kupitz and Cantor Bush for leading us in this morning's spiritual and meaningful service. Thank you to everyone who made the video stream service possible, including our video production crew headed by TBI member Don Pollock, and especially our video editor Claudia Gonzalez, with many hours of assistance from Cantor Bush. Thank you to Don Pollock again for recording the past 15 years of High Holiday services, which allowed access to the historical record that made our virtual service so evocative of the in-person experience. Thanks to our choir director and TBI member, Dr. Ruth Charloff, for helping coordinate the virtual choir videos and the TBI singers, and to Phil Mendelson, who worked tirelessly on creating the Avinu Malkeinu videos and mixing our mutual audio tracks. Thanks to our TBI choir members and guest singers who explored new ways to have their voices heard even at this challenging time. Thanks to Dr. Randy Polavoy for his steady and creative hand at the keyboard, and our always impactful violinist, Rachel Huang. Thank you to Debbie Klein for sharing your personal story with us, and to all of the participants in past services that we were able to include, especially our Torah readers. Thanks to all those who participated in offering virtual readings this year, and to Jay Eisenberg for coordinating their participation. I especially want to thank our VP of Administration, Jay Eisenberg, and our previous administrator, Toyasha Sabag, for all of their time and effort and hard work over the last couple of months in putting this together and organizing it. And especially to you, our congregation, for your continuing support these past 6 months as we balance the pressures of life under COVID-19 with family and professional pressures and responsibilities, and still manage to keep connected with TBI. My biggest thanks goes to my family, my husband and my 2 daughters, for all of their amazing support, patience, and love over the past year. I want to remind our congregants that our High Holiday Appeal Drive is continuing. If you do not get a chance to contribute on Rosh Hashanah, you can still do so through the links available in the chat box as you feel appropriate, or in an email that will be coming your way in the next few days. Your generosity is what allows us to continue offering the wonderful programs and services that enrich the lives of our congregants. Thank you for being as generous as you can. Please also know that our 21st annual food drive to fill the Inland Valley Hope Partners pantry shelves kicked off on Rosh Hashanah. Deborah Gould and the Social Action Committee invite you to bring bags of food to room 12 during the week. Special thanks to Trader Joe's for donating the bags. Today's Yom Kippur discussion will begin at 1:30 p.m. The family T'filah service will begin at 2 p.m., and our afternoon service starts with Mincha at 4 p.m., followed by our Yizkar and Neilah T'filah. Please see your High Holy Day Links email for all the information. Gemar Chatima Tova. I wish you all a sweet and peaceful new year.
Infinite source of goodness, help us to see the good in ourselves, in others, and in the world around us. Teach us to cultivate a discerning mind to know right from wrong, and a listening heart open to love and forgiveness. Guide us to walk in your ways with integrity, ever faithful to the promises our forebears made, and may your goodness inspire us to do what is just and right. In just a moment, we're going to conclude with Hayom Te'amsenu, which is in the middle of page 318. I just want to remind you to check your schedule that was sent out to you earlier in the week that has all the events for this afternoon, and particularly encourage you to join us for our study sessions that begin at 1:30 p.m. Hayom Te'amsenu.
Hayom, 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 hayom te'amsenu. Hayom, 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 hayom. Hayom tivarchenu. Amen. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom tivarchenu letova. Amen. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Chaim tovim. Amen. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom tishma shavatenu. Amen. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom b'mimin tzidkecho. Amen.
See you a little bit later. Gemar Chatima Tova.